declared using brackets, square brackets operator, as you can see here. So for example, if you are going to define a value of type integer, you will use int. That means this array is of type integer, and this is the name test, the name of the array, and here is the size of the array. Okay. As you can see, the size between squared brackets. Okay, not the rounded one, the squared one. So the type of the array is integer, and the name of the array is test, and the size of this array is 5. Okay, we mean by this is the type, this is the name of the array, and as you can see here, this is the size of the array. I will go to slide number 4. I hope that the slides are not frozen. If the slide is frozen, please tell me about this. Now, array memory layout. As you can see here, how is the array is represented inside the memory. The definition is int test5, int test5. So here is the array. We have an array. As you can see, the array name is test. It is of type integer, and these elements are adjacent. They are near each other here, as you can see. So we have first and second, third, fourth, and fifth element because the size is 5. The size of the array is 5. So we start from first element, second, third, fourth, and the fifth element. And this array is of type integer. So if the integer value needs 4 bytes, this array needs 4 by 5. That means it needs 20 bytes. This array needs 20 bytes. So as I will repeat again, if this array is of type integer, so each value is considered as a single variable here. Each element is considered as a single variable. So each variable need 4 bytes, and the size of the array is 5. So 4 by 5, which is 20. Now here we have the array terminology. In the definition int test 5, int is the data type, as we have mentioned before. Test is the name of the array. 5 is the size. Declarator, it shows the number of elements in the array, or the size of the array. The memory allocated to the array is the number of elements multiply or by the size of each element. So for example, this array size is 5. So the size of the array in bytes is 20 bytes, assuming 4 bytes for an integer. Assuming 4 bytes for an integer. Okay, for each integer. So 4 multiplied by 5, which is 20. 4 multiplied by 5, which is 20 bytes. It is the same applies for others. So if the array is of type double, and the double is, let's suppose that each value for double needs 8 bytes, so the size will be 5 by 8, which is 20. So it depends, the size of the array in bytes depends on the byte of the array, depends on the type of the array. The size, I will repeat, the size of the array in bytes depends on the type of the array, the type of the array. Now here we have size declarator, as you can see. Another way for definition or declaring the array, or it is another way of array declaration here. We have const int size, which is equal 10,000, for example, or 5. And now I can define the array like this. int test size. Size depends on the number here. So it was 5, but I have explained something yesterday for the previous group. Okay. So now, as you can see here, the size is 5. Okay. And I have defined int test size equal int test size. It is equivalent to, as you can see, I have written this yesterday. It is equivalent to int test 5. Okay. This eases program maintenance when the size of the array needs to be changed. Anyone can tell me what do we mean by this statement? This eases program maintenance when the size of the array needs to be changed.
اسمه دكتور تغير بس من فوق يعني ما تغير كل
Yes, yes, correct. You have to change only the statements at the top, the declaration or the size of the array at the top. You need to change the constant value. Let's suppose that your array size was 100 and you want to change it to 10,000, for example. You don't need to go over your lines of code and change the size from 100 to 10,000. You can change only, if you use this way, the constant at the top. So you just need to change one line instead of changing a lot of lines in your code. If we suppose that you have declared and used we suppose that you have used this array a lot in your line of code. This is a better way, okay? This is a better one. Don't use the size like this in your codes. Just declare a constant and use the constant, as we mentioned, because this will help you to maintain your program easier. You don't have to change a lot of lines of your code if you want to change the size of your array. No, you don't change it. You just change it at the beginning. You cannot change the constant in the lines of your code. There, I will go again here. Let's suppose I will try to enter this code here, okay? Let's suppose that you have test. I mean, by this is that you have array called test, which has a size equal to 5. And you have used this array a lot here. 5. Okay. 5. In your lines of code, I mean. Right? Let's suppose that you want to change the size. Okay, for something in your code. What you need in this case to do? Okay, you need to go in all your declaration and change the size from 5 to 100. Okay, and go here to 100 and go here for 100. So this somehow will cost an extra time and effort for you. Okay, but if you have used here a const int size equal 5, for example, and you have used the size here and here and also here. Supposing that you are using this array a lot, and you want to change the size of the array to 100, you just need to change this size to 100. Okay? The initial declaration. So in that case, the sizes of these array will be changed automatically. You don't need to change it 3 times or 4 times or 5 times. You just need to change the line or the value of the constant and the top. I didn't say that you need or you can do this. Size equal, for example, 9,000. This is wrong, of course, because you have defined the size of type constant. That means you cannot change it in the code. You cannot change the value, this constant in the code. Okay? But you can change it at the top here. And we will talk about accessing array elements. As I mentioned, we mean by accessing printing the elements array or reading the elements or changing the value of these elements. Now, at the beginning, I will tell you, in the first slides, that we must use the index of the elements to access these elements. At the end or before, in the last slides, we will use or we will mention another way to access the array elements. But for now, please just be with me and make sure to understand this concept. If we want to access the array elements, we need to use indexes. We need to use indexes, or what we call here subscripts. I have written this word here. It is index or subscript. Each element in the array is assigned to a unique subscript, يعني, or index, or in Arabic رقم متسلسل. رقم متسلسل. So subscripts start at 0. Don't forget this at all. It does not start at 1. So, for example, if you have an array of size 5, the indexes of this array will start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the last index for the element, the last index for the last element is equal 4. But the size of the array here is equal 5. Is equal 5 here. So always the index equal the size minus 1. So if the size is 5, the last index is 4. If the size is 10, the last index is 9. Because we start from 0. We start from 0. Okay? So as you can hear, subscript or indexes start at 0 and ends at n minus 1, where n is the number of elements in the array, where n is the size of the array or the number of elements of the array. So this is array of size 5, but we start the last index is 4. Now I will go to next slide here. Array elements can be used as regular variable. As we have mentioned, array elements is just like a variable. You can read it, you can change the value or assign a value to it. You can print it on the screen. So here, as you can see in the first line here, line of code, we are assigning the first element of the array to 79. So I have used here the index 0. I need to know the index of this element in order to be able to access it. So here I have assigned 79 to elements number 1. And I have printed the value of element number 1. Then I have read the value of element number 2, here Cn. Okay. Then I have found the sum of element number 1 and element number 2 and saved it in element number 4. Okay. Array must be accessed via individual elements. Okay. This is not legal, as you can see. I cannot just print the value of the array using the word or single statement cout test. Okay. This only will be working with array of type character. But for now, this is not legal. Okay, not legal. You cannot print. You cannot print the value of this array writing cout the array name. Okay, you need to for sure to do or to write loop or repetition statements. Okay. Now I will go to slide number 10. Here, look at this piece of code. We have int main const int num employees 6. Okay, and now I have defined an array based on the size 6 number of employees. So I have declared array. The name of the array is hours. The name of the array is hours, and I have read the following values: hours of 0, hours of 1, hours of 2, hours of 3, 4, and 5. So here I have read the value. So the user entered the value of this array elements using the keyboard. As you can see here, we start from the size of the array of 6, but the last element index or subscript is 5. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Okay. Now I will go to next slide. Now I am in slide number 11. After reading the value using the keyboard, I have just simply printed the values of the array, cout space hours of 0 and hours of 1, as you can see, until the hours of 5. Here is the sample output here, the program output with example in bold. In bold, I have entered here 6 value, and I have also printed them on the screen, and as you can see here, we have separated them by spaces. And please look what is happening here. Look at this figure here. As you can see, the values is saved from hours of 0, hours of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. And here is the value that I have entered. So they have been assigned or saved inside adjacent location. And don't forget that we have started from 0 to 5. That means the size is 6. If you have count the elements here, you will find or you will see that the count or the number of elements is 6, but we have started from 0. Now, accessing array content. Now here we have using the index, we have access element number, element that has the index of 3, which is index is 3, so it is element number 4 actually. In the order, it is number 4 elements. So here we have a printed out element of index number 3. And also now we are telling you in this slide that we can use integer value int i5 and we can print test of 5. So it is just equal to test of 5 because I have declared here a variable of type integer, okay, and I have assigned it to number 5. Then I told the program, or I have written an element, a statement here to print element number 5. Okay, to print element number 5 here, test of 5. And you can see here and a new line. So it is just the same, but you need sometimes to use variable instead of fixed or a fixed number, so you can use it like this. This is just an introduction about what we are going to talk about later. We want to let you know that we can use variable, and this variable can be inside a for loop, loop statement. Now here we have defined an array of size 5. Then we have a constant, which is array size equal to 5. Then we have defined an array. The array name is numbers. The type of the array is integer, and the array size or the size of the array is 5. Now I need to access the array elements now, so I need to use a for loop here, starting from count 0 while count less than array size, because I will start from 0 to 5 here, from 0 to 5. Okay, from 0, I don't need to write this here, I just would write this here, to 5 count plus plus, and every time I am assigning the value to 99. So this code will fill the array with the value 99. Now be careful with this. You have started from 0, so you will finish until you reach 4. So this is why we have written here less than. We did not write less or equal. We did not write less or equal. If you want to write less or equal, you need to make it like this. It's okay, but you need to decrease the array size by 1. So you have two options. Either to use equal with the array size, or less or equal with array size minus 1. It is the same. It is up to you. How do you want to write your for loop? Okay. So we can use here count less or equal array size minus 1, because I have used here equal, or I can remove the equal, simply remove the equal and remove the minus 1 here, and it's okay, it will be working. Because when I need to access the element, I don't have element number 5, I just have element, the last index for the last element is 4. So I need to write my for loop to start from 0 to 4. So if I have written less than, I should write array size. But if I have written less than or equal, I should write array size minus 1. Is this clear, guys? Actually, this is important. Because if you have exceed, يعني تجاوزت the size of the array, this will crash your program, will cause a runtime error during running your program, and your program will not will not be run successfully. Yes.
دكتور آخر لاين وش يسوي؟
Which line?
آخر
Last
واحد.
one? Here we have just save 99 to the array elements. So all the array elements will be filled by 99 value.
Okay.
Just so now the count is 0. I will fill element number 0 by 99. And as you can see, the array is increased. صح? The count is increased. In the second iteration, it will be here 1. So now element indexed by 1, يعني element of 1 will be we will save inside this element 99, and the same for element of 2 and 3 and 4 until I reach element number 4. This is the value and this is the index. في فرق. هذا الاندكس هو لازم يكون من 0 من from 0 to 4. The value here, any integer value. You can save here any integer value. You can save it, you can read it from the keyboard, whatever you like. Okay? Now here, as I have mentioned, the variable count starts at 0. Now I am slide 14. The loop ends with the variable count reach 5, which is the first invalid subscript value. So make it less than, and the variable count is increment after each iteration by 1. Because as we mentioned, the index starts from 0, 1, 2. So you need to increase the variable here by 1 each time. When you use a value as an array subscript, C++ does not check it to make sure it is valid subscript. In other words, you can use subscripts that are beyond the bounds of the array. You can, but this will crash your program, especially if you are saving values inside the array elements. So for example, I will explain this here. Let's suppose that you have int numbers equal, the size of this array is equal 10. Okay, so the index will start from 0 to 9. I can write, for example, number of 11 equal 2. This means I am going to save value 2 inside the number, the elements number indexed by 11. But the size of my array is 10, so I have exceed here the boundaries, okay? Or I have gone beyond the bounds of the array. This will not cause any compilation error. I will repeat, this will not cause any compilation. I did not say any errors. I said this will not cause any compilation error. ما راح يعمل لك أي مشكلة compilation. But when you run the program, the program will be crashed. Yes, Abdullah. Someone raise up. No. Try to print this value. You will try to see out these values. What يعني try, for example, to define array of size 5, okay, and then try to enter value here 2 inside the array elements and exceed the beyonds. الجاوز, try to print them out or assign value using a for loop. So your array size will be 5, and try to use a for loop to start from 0 to 10, but your array size is 5. So you have exceed the beyonds. And try to print this value. You will see that your program will not print anything, okay, and will not continue execution. It will be crashed. Okay, it will be crashed. Now, in some version of C++, the error will appear to you. In other version, it will not appear. So I might, if you need, try this, and I will send you a screenshot of this if you like later, inshallah. Okay, because we have run a program like this, and we have assigned value to elements beyond after the boundaries, and this will cause that your program to be crashed. The error will not appear on the screen, but your program will be crashed. Okay. You will not see the error on the screen, but your program will not continue running. Try this. Try this, and if you like, I will send you a sample or an example as screenshot. But here we don't have any compilation error. We don't have any compilation error here. No compilation error will happen to you. Okay. So be careful with the array, and we will try to use what we call here later. You will study this dynamic array with pointers. هذا next course inshallah. Will be in next course. If you want to change the size of the array, and if you want the array to be dynamic, and you want the size to be changed based on the value one by one, you will use dynamic array and pointers. Now I will go to slide number 16 here. Now we have here defined an int size is 3, and we have defined int value size of 3. Then we have started here from 0 to 5. Okay. Now here we have here printed 5 elements. As you can see here, we have accessed 5 elements, not 3. We have size of 3. So as you can see here, the value here does not exist, and the value here does not exist too. So this is not allowed, and how the numbers assigned to the array will overflow the array boundaries. May show you an overflow error, or might show for you a runtime error, or might your program be crashed. So you might see overflow errors, or array out of index error, or you might not see any errors, but your program will be crashed here. So be careful not to use invalid subscript. Doing so can corrupt other memory location, could use crash, or lock your computer, and cause bugs, what we call bugs or runtime error. So I will repeat again here from slide 16. The size is 3, but I have written my array starting from 0 to 5. Okay, so I have access other 2 elements here. So this could cause overflow or could cause crashes or corrupt your memory location or crash your program or look up your computer and cause bugs. Okay, cause bugs. If you want to try this, just define an array and try to assign value to other to indexes that greater than the array size. Compile, save, compile, and recompile. Then try to print out the value. You will see that, or try to assign value to this array and try to print them out. You will see that your program is crashed. It will not be executed, and the results will not appear on the screen. Another type of error here, be careful. They want you to be careful with this. An off by one error. An off by one error happens when you use an array subscript that are off by one. This can be happened when you start subscript at 1 rather than 0. So look at this code here. We have defined an array, a constant int size, which is equal 100 and all. So now I am in slide number 19. As we said, be careful with the arrays and start from 0. Don't start from 1. Start from 0 because the index start from 0. And if you want to write here equal, use size -1. If you want to remove the equal here, use the size. Don't forget this. This is important for you. Actually, you know, they were using array in the past and save these array values inside files instead of using what we call today database or big data, whatever. So the array are very important subject. You need to understand how to deal with arrays. Now, are you going to use lists and arrays in your code? Of course, you will use it a lot. You will see that you need to use lists and arrays to solve many real life problem in your code. So you need to use list, and you will see that you will use list and arrays in real life problem a lot. In real life problem. Okay. So this is actually important subject because arrays and lists somehow we have what we call here we have, for example, in the web page list and combos. Actually, these are treated like the arrays. We have list, we have combos. You know what I mean by combo? Something to pick a value, and you have in the web page, for example, you have list of value. You can select 1 or 2 or 3 values. So these lists are indexed, are treated like the array. So it is very important to understand the array concept in order to understand how to treat or deal with or access the elements of these lists or this combo inside the web page, for example. Okay. Now, here, another way for declaring, another way for declaring the array, you can just initialize the value. You can initialize the value using const int size equal 5, and you can initialize the array, you can initialize the array by the values directly. So you can just assign values to array elements like this using these braces here. Starting, and that means I have assigned 79 to elements number 0 and 82 to elements number 1 and 91 to elements number 2, 77 to elements number 3, and 84 to element number 4 or index by 4. So this is another way of assigning the value to the elements. I have here written, I have explained this to the students. I told them that you can use here, you can also write it like this: test of 0 equals 79, test of 1 equal 88, test of 2 equal 91, and so on. So you can use both ways, but here is the easier, this is the easier way, okay? You can use both. So this statement in the green is equivalent to the statement in the yellow, down here. So here I have initialized the value of the element 79, 81, and so on. And here also I have assigned the value to element number 0 or to the first element by 79, and I have assigned 82 to element number 2, and so on. So these are equivalent. I have written this yesterday here, so you can use any the way you want, but we prefer to use the first one. We prefer, it's easier. As we mentioned here, the value are stored in the array in the order. The initialization list cannot exceed the array size. Okay, yani you cannot, for example, define size 5 here and start to assign more value, more and more and more value. Make sure if your array size or array length is 5, for example, you need to assign 5 value. If the array size is 7, you need to assign 7 value, and so on. So make sure don't exceed or don't exceed the array size when you are initializing the list. When you are initializing the list, as you can see here, somehow they call it list or array. It's the same. So make sure not to initialize the array size. So we have 5 here. We have 5 here. Don't add 6. If we have added, for example, 7, no, this is not right, and so on. So what we need to understand, to know or learn from this slide is the initialization way. This is the first thing, and the second thing, don't exceed the array size. Now here, look at this code, guys. We have const int month equal 12, and we have defined an array of type integer called days, and the size of the array is equal months. So the size of the array here is 12. And as you can see in the initialization list, we have assigned 12 value inside or this list or this array. We have saved 12 value inside this array, and starting, as you can see here, 31, 28, 31, and so on. Then we have printed the value here. Now my question is here in the for loop, why we have right here count plus 1? Why?
Well, we start from January, month number 1. We don't start from month number 0.
Yes, because it is an order, يعني رقم متسلسل. Usually order number start from 1 يعني ما في عندنا رقم equal 0 يعني هو الترتيب order. This is the order of the month. So it is just an output. Here we are printing month number 1 has 31 days. So here 31 is the value inside the array. And we have number 2 is equal, has the array elements, which is 1. The array elements indexed by 1, because the first one is indexed by 0. So in the first loop, count will be 0. But I have printed 1 on the screen, count plus 1, has CR days of 0, which is 31, days of 0, 31. So just these numbers are just output here. Okay, it is not a functional, it does not do anything here. I'm just increasing, print the count plus 1 here. And accessing the array elements starting from 0 to 11. From 0 to 11. As you can see here, starting the count from 0 to month, the month to 12, but we have used here less than, so I will start from 0 to 11 because I did not use this or equal. So here I will start from element number 0 or index by 0 to 11. And I have printed the value. It is just an output. The other question here, can I use here C out month count plus plus? My question is, can I use instead of count here? I will try to draw to just make sure that you are with me. Can we use here, instead of this, I hope I can write. Actually, my handwriting is too bad, actually. So it is using the mouse or also the pen. My handwriting is not good. So now, can we use this, guys, instead of count plus 1? Yeah.
If we use it, we are going to start from 0.
What do you think? But we have here a semicolon. Can you see the semicolon? Right. In other words, if this statement equal to this, are these statements equivalent, guys? Count plus plus equal to count plus 1? What do you think? Are these statements equivalent? What do you think? Anyone other than Abdullah? Are these statements equivalent? نفس العمل بيعملوا كده؟
No.
Yes, who said no?
سلطان.
سلطان إلك درجة. علمت تذكرني ابعث لي إيميل.
إن شاء الله.
They are not equal. Count plus plus mean count equal, if you remember, count plus 1. Okay. This one is not like this one. Okay, here just I'm printing the value, plus 1. I did not assign it to the count again, so I did not change the original value of count. Count is still 0, so here it will remain 0. But if I have used count plus plus, the value of count will be increased because I will exit the statement here. So here I will start with 1. So this one is different from this one. Okay? Clear, guys? Hadi? Just I want to refresh your memory and make some of what we call here brainstorming. Okay, so now count plus plus mean I will increase the count by 1, but here I just print them without doing anything. I did not assign the value to the count. I just print the count plus 1 here, so it is 1, but the count here is 0, remains 0. But if I have used count plus plus, in that case the count here will become 1. So I will not print the value of the first month. Is this clear, guys? Shall I repeat? Now, I have yes, I have modified the value. Ziad said clear, and Abdullah, that's good. So here I did not modify the value of count. I just added 1 and printed here. So here the value of 0. But if I have used count plus plus or count equal count plus 1, this is actually a different statement from this one. Count plus 1. Okay. Now I will go to, now I am in slide 22. As we mentioned before, here we have an array, and the array elements is just like any variable. So now here I have defined an array of size 7, and I have saved the 4, I have assigned the 4 numbers to the array here. The first, as you can see, 1 will be in index number 0, and 2 will be saved in index number 1 until 8. Now this just like any variable here. I did not use them yet. I did not use these yet. So by default they will be assigned or initialized by 0. Okay, by 0, like any variable. In most cases, if you have assigned value to integer, the value of the integer will be 0. In some cases, this could not happen. So, but in most cases, if you did not initialize this default value, they will be equal to 0s. So I have here saved the first 4 elements, and these are the default value because I have defined it of type integer. So the default value or initialization value will be 0s because I did not assign them to any values. Now here also another, this is actually important, you can see this in C++. Here, as you can see here, I did not specify the size of the array. I did not specify the size of the array. I just start from 12 to 12, 17, 15, and 11. The size of the array will be initialized based on the list. So now the size of this array will be 4. So must use either array size, it's okay to write quizzes of 4, or you can also using the initialization list to declare the size. So can determine the array size by the size of the initialization list. So now based on this, the size of the array will be 4 depending on the initialization list. If you didn't, in this way, if you didn't specify the size, you can change the initialization list and the size of the array will be changed based on the initialization list. Okay? But if you have determined the size and you try to access some element that out of boundaries, that will cause you crash or bugs. Okay? Is this clear? Try to declare an array, and try to assign values to the elements out of the boundary. For example, if we declare array of size 5 and try to assign 10 value to this array, you will see that the system is crashed. Okay, and it will not print value for you. Now, if you are using this like this, you are redefine the value. Okay, we call it resize the value. So if you have initialized it like this, the size will be 4. If you have added another value here, the size will become 5. Okay, and another value and another value. But you don't need to specify the size here. Okay, now the range based for loop, we have here what we call another range based for loop here, another way to write for loop. Now this for loop, in this for loop, we don't need to know the name, we don't need to know the size of the array. In this loop, we don't need to write indexes. In this for loop, we don't need to add counters or increase the index by 1 in each iteration. Okay. Now, when we use this range-based for loop, if we want to access all the array elements, all the array elements without depending on the index, and I don't want to change a specific one. I want to deal with all the indexes of the array. I want to deal with all the elements of the array. So in that case, I don't need to know the index, I don't need to know the array size, and also I don't need to increase or add a counter and increase the index by 1. The index by 1. Now, take a look at this. Now, C++ provide a specialized version of for loop that may, in many circumstances, simplify array processing. The range-based for loop is a loop that iterates once for each element. The range-based for loop automatically knows the number of elements in an array. You don't need to use to know the length of the array. You don't have to use counter variable. You don't have to worry about stepping outside the beyonds because you will not do that. You will not step outside the bounds of the array. I think by example, by seeing the example, it will be more clear for you. Now here just the general syntax. We have for int data type here, the variable name. This variable will represent each array element inside the array. Then we will write column here and the array name, and we can add many statements as much as we want here. So we have for data type, integer, double, whatever. It depends on the array type. So if the type of the array integer, I need to use integer. If the array type is double, I need to use double. Then I have to define any variable I need, and this variable will represent the array elements. Then I will write here column and write the array name. So here we have the data type, the range variable, and the array name and the statement. Okay. I will go now to slide 27. As you can see here, I don't want to only access a specific elements or a specific index. I just want to display the values inside the array. So I have defined an array of type integer. The size of this array is 5. Then I start for int for int. Why I have written here int? Because I want to access the elements of the array using the variable val, mean value, okay? So the variable value should be of type int, the same type of the array. It is just like you can see I have written this to students yesterday. It is, you can see another way in other programming language, you can see a for start with for each. We can also write, maybe I think in Python, for each element in array. You will see another for loop start with for each. If you Google or if you search, you will find another syntax, not in C++. This is not, this for loop is not used in C++, but it had the same concept of the one in the green here. Okay. So you can, in other programming language, find for loop start with for each. Okay. But in C++, we will start for data type value column number. Here, just I have written these to explain to the students what would happen here. Now here I will start in this for, I will print the value of the array. Simple. It is just as simple as this. You will start from the value number, the first element, until you reach the end of the array. So the output for this program or this piece of code will be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So try to memorize or don't forget this syntax, or don't forget the structure of this for loop. Here we are talking about the range. Again, the range-based for loop can be used in any situation where you need to step enough the elements of the array, and you don't need to use element subscript. Yani you don't want to use element indexes, as I mentioned before, or you don't need to access a specific element. You want to go over all the array elements. If you need an element, if you need the element subscript for some purpose, use the regular for loop. Okay, the regular for loop. So it's up to you either to use this or this, but this depends on the purpose. If you want, as I said before, to access a specific element, you need to use regular for, because you want to use the index. But if you don't need to use the index and you want to step or go through all the elements of the array, you can use the range for. So this is actually important for your understanding. This is range for, and this is the regular loop. Now, please be careful with this. This is somehow might confuse you. Actually, I like this slide. It is a good one. When you be careful when using plus plus or minus minus operators, don't confuse the element with the subscript, okay? Don't be confused. Now, this one is correct. You are increasing the value of the element by 1. You are adding 1 to test I. This is okay. Now here you are telling, just like telling the compiler that you want to go to next element. Let's suppose if you are in element number 5, you want to go to element number 6, so you are increasing the index by 1 here. You are not increasing the value. So be careful. If you want to increase the value, you need to add plus plus here. Okay, post increment operator here, not inside the squared brackets. But if you want to increase the index, if you want to increment I or the index to go to next element, you can use I plus plus like this. But we don't need this now. You might need this in data structure. But please try, if you want to use that, to increment the value by 1, use this one. Now for I am now in slide 30. As I mentioned, the array is very important, guys. Okay, we don't use this to assign array. We cannot write it. This will not work for you. So if you want to copy the array element from test to another array, this will not work in C++. In some programming language, it works, but here in C++, especially with array of type integer, it will not work at all. Now, if you want to assign elements from test I to new test, you can use the for loop. So you want to go and assign the value elements by elements. Elements by elements. For I equals 0, while I less than array size I plus plus, you are now assign element number 0 or index by 0 to element index by 0 to the new array, and so on. So if you want to assign, you need to assign the value elements by element. Don't forget this. Now look at this. This one is important. Okay, here. This array, you can display the content of the character array by sending its name to cout. But this only works with character array. Be careful with this. This will not work with you using integer value or array of type integer. The slide was like this yesterday, okay? So, anyone, I have defined here an array of type character, which is name is if name, and I did not specify the size. As you can see, Abdullah, no size here. Now, anyone can tell me what is happening here only in the char array? What is happening in this? What would happen? What we are doing here? Yes, every character will be saved inside an index. So this could be happen in the array, if you remember when we use this, braces, if you remember this, okay, but with the braces here. But with character array, we can use this, or array of type character. In that case, as your colleague Abdullah said, H will be saved in index number 0, and E will be saved in index number 1, and in 2 are 3, and Y is 5. So the size of this array will be 5. Okay? I'm just writing to clarify to you the idea. And in the character array only, don't forget the word only here. If I write cout if name, it will be printed. It will be printed. Successful. If I have written cout if name, the value will be printed. So Henry, in this case, this only works with character array. So I will just I will roll back. Now what I have written to the student yesterday, here in the yellow, I will change it to blue here. This one, any green, okay, is equivalent to this one. Equivalent to this one. Here I am writing it in one shot. I am printing the array elements in one shot because it is of type character, or I can access or print the array element using for loop. Okay, in array of type character. So I have started from 0 while I less than array size -1 I plus plus. So when I equal 0 I will print h, then I will print array element of 1 which is e, and element of 2 which is n, and element of 3 which is r, and finally I will print on the screen y. So I can use this. This statement is just like the green one, but I can use the green one only with array of type character. But this for loop can be used with any array type. If this is clear, guys, now I will go to 30 here, 32. As I mentioned, printing the contents of an array, you can use this statement here. For loop and print the value of any type of any array type. Now I will go to slide 33 here, and we have repeat this. In C++, you can use the range base, don't forget this value. Now I will go to slide summing and averaging elements in an array. If I want to find a sum of an array, this slide was like this, okay? Just I will remove the braces. I am now in slide 34 here. I have defined a value tnum, and also I have defined double average sum, and I have initialized the sum to 0. Then I have found the sum of my elements using this statement, sum equals sum plus test of tnum. So first of all, I will find the sum of element 0, then I will add to the sum elements number 1 and 2 and 3 and y less than size. So here I have in the statement in yellow is used to find the sum of the array elements. I think this is clear, but now when I finish my for and exit my for, I will find the sum, find the average, dividing the sum by the size. Then I have printed the average here. But please be careful. If you remember, and I will repeat it again. Now, this statement is the only statement that following the for loop. This one is related to for loop. So it's better to me to make the code readable. I will add braces here. So that means this statement is related to the for loop. Now this one, I will just calculate the average one time. I will calculate the average one time. So once I finish the summation here, finding the sum, I will divide it by the size and I will print out the average here. So this statement in green will be printed one time. Green will be printed one time, and also calculating the average will be calculating the average will be for one time. If you have added this statement inside the for loop, also it will work correctly, but don't do this. It does not make sense because calculating the average, it's supposed to be outside the for loop. The for loop is for the sum here. And as you can see, I have calculated the average and printed out the sum. Now, also you can use the range based for as shown here, because I am accessing all the array elements for int val in this is the array name. We mean by this array name total equal total plus equal val, and also I have added my braces, the braces here, to make it readable. But in our case here only the braces were not here, but in our case here only this statement is related to if, because we don't have braces, so the first statement only is following the control loop statement. So we can, it's better to make it readable to write it like this. Then we will find the average. So it is this code is working as the code in the previous slide. We are finding the sum, then we are calculating the average. Now, this is important now, finding, sorry, I might finish today at maybe 10:50. 10:50, just I want to explain something here. Let's suppose that I have the following array. I will make it of size 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's suppose that I have 5, I have 4, I have here 6, and I have 7. Okay? 5, 4, 6, 7. This is my array. This is my array. And in this code, I'm going to find the maximum number or the highest number. The maximum number or the highest number. So how is I'm going to do that? For sure, if I ask you, if you have a paper now and you have numbers, and I ask you to find the maximum or the highest number, you will start looking at the beginning of the paper. So you will assume that the first number is the highest number. Then you will start comparing this number with other. I will repeat again. If you have a piece of paper and this paper contains some number, then I want you to find the highest or the maximum one, you will start from the beginning. You will start from the beginning. Okay. Now, here, we are starting from count equal. We have assumed that the highest is number of 0. The highest equal number of 0. So now I will just write H for the highest. Number of 0. Now the highest will be 5. Which is this one. Had a 0. This is 1. This is 2. And this is 3. Now I will start comparing from 1 because I have assumed that the first number is the maximum. The first number is the maximum, so my loop will start, I will start comparing with number 1, H, which is the highest, with 1 and 2 and 3. So I will start comparing from 1. I will check number count 1, which is 4. Is it greater than the highest? Now the highest is 5. No, I will not do anything here. For my first loop, I will not do anything. Now the counter will become 2. So I will check if number of count 2, which is 6 here, number of count 2, it is 6. Is 6 greater than the highest? Yes, the highest is 5. Now the elements in index number 2 is 6 is greater. Now the highest, so number 2, number indexed by 2, which is 6, will be saved inside the highest. So the highest in that case will become 6. I can't write right now, but here the highest will become 6. Now I will complete and go, I will complete my for loop, because my for loop will start from until size here, supposing that the size is 4. Now the count will become 3. Now I will compare number of 3, which is 7. Is it greater than the highest? Yes. So I will save 7 inside the H, the highest here. So when I finish the code, I will print here the highest equal highest, or the maximum number equal the highest value. So in that case, I have found in this code I have found the maximum number inside the array. Assuming the first number is the highest, then I will go through the other numbers and compare. If there is any number inside the array greater than the highest, I will save it inside the highest. And finally, after I finish my loop, I will print here the highest value. Okay. I will now go to slide number. Partially filled array. If it is unknown how much data an array will be holding, make the array large enough, okay, to hold the largest expected data. هذا واحد. Use counter variable to keep track of the number of the items stored in the array. So this is what we have mentioned here. Expect you are now a developer, you have to write your algorithm, write your BCD code, you have to understand the problem, you have to know, or you need to know the maximum number of the array. For example, if you are working on a university, you need at least 1 million records. If you are working maybe in a small school, you need 100,000, so on and so on. So it depends on your problem, and you need to specify a maximum number for your array. And maybe in next course you will study what we call pointers or dynamic array. Pointers or dynamic array. This will be taught in our next course. Now we have here const int size of 5. Then we have initialize 2 arrays. As you can see here, the first array and the second array are equal. So now we are going to write a program to test if our arrays are equal. So now we have 2 conditions to stop our while loop here. We have arrays equal and we have count. If I have exceeded the size, I will end my loop. If the count became greater or equal size, if the count became greater or equal the size, I will exit my while loop. I will exit this one. And the other condition, this one. If you remember, we have talked about the flag previously, and we said this is important, using flags, especially in search process. So, as you can see here, I have assumed at the beginning, using what we call here bool variable, the arrays equal to. So now this Boolean variable, I assumed that the arrays are equal. This is how we are using Boolean or flag variable in real life, or in real example. Now here I need to compare the 2 arrays, and I have initialized the value to 0, here, counter to 0. Now I write here while array equal. Now array equal true. So this is true. And count equals 0. It is less than size, and this is true. True and true. Okay, in that case, I will enter my while loop. I will compare. Is the first array for 0 not equal the second array of 0? I will check. هذا الإليمنت الأول لا يساوي هذا. No, they are equal. I will not do anything. I will complete my loop. Array still true. I did not change it. So this is true. And also the count is 1, which is less than size. Also true. I will check the second element. Are these not equal? No, they are equal. This one, they are equal. So this condition will not be satisfied. I will go and complete. And so on. And so on. I will do my comparison here until the count became 5, or until count becomes 5. In that case, I will exit my while loop. So this while loop will exit in 2 cases. If I have found 2 elements are not equal, or if the count became greater or equal than the size. So they are equal. So this is always true. But here, finally, the count becomes greater than the size, greater or equal than the size. So I have exit my while loop. And here I will print. If array equal, يعني إذا كان true, see how the array are equal. But if it became false, I will write here the array are not equal. Now let's suppose that maybe in the second element we have 10 and 12, and we have in the first array 10 and in the second array 12. I will go over this condition here. I will check. هل element 10 not equal 12, for example? Yes, it's true. In that case, array will become false. And so I will try to complete my while loop. Now the array will become false. False. The array equal variable, Boolean variable, will become false. Now false and true is false. If you remember the comparison, false and true false, that means I will exit here. Now the array became, based on our condition here, false. And based on this, I have exit my while loop here. Because false and true false, I have exit my while loop. Then I will check. If it is true, I will print they are equal. But in our case here, if we have 10 and 12, the array equal will become false, so I will execute here. The array are not equal. So, do you think, or my question is, why did we don't add this if statement inside our while loop here? Anyone can tell me? Can we add the if statement here inside the while loop? What would happen in that case? Can we add this if statement here? Yes, Walid. Al-Walid.
If we add it to the loop, it will print always the cout statement.
Yeah, it will repeat. Thank you, Walid. Yes, if I have added this if here, I will just cut and copy here. I will check. I will print, for example, if 5 equal 5, equal. Then if 10 equal 10, I will print another equal on the screen. And if the 15 equal 15, I will print here another equal. Then if 21, let's suppose this is 20 and this is 22, for example. So I will print on the screen not equal. So I will repeat printing the result in each comparison. But this is actually not happened in the comparison. I should write print one statement. only. So it is very important to take the condition here that is using the Boolean variable outside the while loop. And imagine that you are searching for something. For search also, if you are searching for something, it is not correct or it does not make sense for you to print, for example, found, not found. No, I need to print the result one time, found or not found. So always, if you are searching for something or you are doing a comparison, don't put the F with the Boolean inside the while loop. Just put it after the while or after the loop. Okay.